There is a strange paradox we rarely speak of. To love someone can be unconditional, but to be loved often comes with conditions. By the time a person reaches their 30s or 40s, they have witnessed enough human experience to know that the romantic myths of youth were more enchantment than truth. You begin to understand that love is not awarded for good behavior, nor does it stay simply because you are loyal, patient, or deserving. Some people pour themselves out, drop by drop, into the life of someone they cherish, only to watch their efforts slip away like water through open hands. Others share the same home, the same meals, the same roof with their partner, and yet feel more like a guest in their own life than a beloved companion. And many wander from heart to heart, believing the next embrace, the next promise, the next "I choose you" will finally quiet the emptiness inside, only to find that the same hollow echo returns every time. At some point you begin to ask, why has something as natural as love become a maze of requirements, silent expectations, and disappointments too tender to speak about? You start to sense that beneath all the poetry, beneath all the vows and ideals, hides a truth you have long avoided. For the love we are taught to seek is rarely love itself, but an imitation wearing love's clothing. This is the quiet root of our dissatisfaction. We have mistaken the appearance of love for the essence of love. We cling to the structure of love while ignoring the living spirit that was meant to flow through it. From childhood, the world whispers a covert contract into our ears. Love must be earned. Be who they want you to be, and then you will be cherished. Meet their needs, and you will be valued. Be attractive, helpful, strong, agreeable, devoted, and the reward will be love. But this is not love. It is a transaction politely disguised as affection. A marketplace of emotional exchanges between two people who were taught from birth to call their deal a relationship. A bargain can bind people together, yes, but it cannot feed them. Two merchants can stay together for years as long as both keep up their end of the deal. But the moment one fails to meet the terms, the agreement dissolves. And this is why so many relationships endure yet do not nourish, persist yet do not expand, remain intact yet leave both hearts hungry. No matter how many seasons have passed, no matter how tightly two lives have woven together, the silent ledger between them eventually appears. The unspoken balance sheet is laid open, and everything that was given and withheld is tallied. And so many people, somewhere between youth and old age, wake with a kind of quiet shock. What they once called love was in truth only an arrangement. Perhaps it had been wrapped in sacred vows, blessed by a priest, framed with flowers, or ignited by the trembling emotions of early affection. Yet beneath the ceremony, beneath the romance, lay a simple pact. I will meet your needs if you meet mine. And when one side grows tired or ill, or simply evolves, the pact begins to crumble. What once felt warm becomes cold. The eyes that once shone at your presence now slide past you as if you were nothing more than background noise, a familiar shape losing its color. No one told us when we were children that this version of love is a performance, that performances have curtains, that the applause eventually stops. And when you mistake the performance for love itself, you exhaust yourself trying to keep the show alive. You give your time, your patience, your loyalty, believing that this devotion will guarantee the affection your heart aches for. But what you secure is not love, only the continuation of the agreement. This is why so many, after years of faithful effort, stand stunned when the warmth disappears, not because they stopped caring, but because life shifted, as it always does. Change is the only constant. Stone erodes, metal rusts, plastic bends, and people are not immune to time's reshaping hands. The man or woman you first held in your arms is no longer the same being, and neither are you. And when a relationship is built on fixed terms, it inevitably strains under the weight of impermanence. There is a deeper truth, one that is harder to accept. When the demands of the arrangement are no longer met, the masks people wear begin to fall. When you no longer provide the comfort, validation, security, or usefulness they once sought in you, something is revealed. The tenderness you believed was part of their essence may fade, not necessarily replaced with cruelty, but with a kind of emptiness, a quiet void where you expected love to be. And you might have sensed it long before you admitted it, that subtle shift in their gaze, the way it no longer lingers on you with warmth or curiosity, as though you had become a fading silhouette in the very life you helped build. The laughter that once greeted you fades, replaced by a guarded silence. The change is so subtle, so quiet, that you almost convince yourself you imagined it. Yet in that stillness the truth reveals itself. You were valued not for your essence, but for the roles you played, the comfort you provided, the needs you met. And when a love built on usefulness begins to crumble, it does not simply dissolve, it tears at something deep within you. It leaves you standing among the ruins, asking the question so many fear to ask. Was I ever truly loved, or was I merely convenient? Because love, real love, is not a trade, nor a leash. It is not "I will if you will," nor a secret inventory of who has given more and who has fallen short. Those belong to commerce, not to the human heart. True love is freedom. It is the capacity to give without demanding a return, to be present with another person, not to bind them, not to earn anything, but because the act of caring is its own quiet pleasure. It is a gift without receipts, without contracts, without fear that it must be repaid in equal weight. But here lies the paradox. Such love cannot be offered by a heart starving for affection. A heart desperate to be seen and validated will inevitably and even unconsciously tie strings to its giving. It will observe, it will compare, it will wait anxiously for the return flow of affection. And if that return never comes, resentment begins to weave its way through the soul like ivy on stone. You cannot love freely while begging for love. And you cannot stop begging until you discover within yourself a source that never dries up. That source does not live in someone else's approval. It does not reside in their gaze, their desire, or their praise. It comes from the quiet, profound realization that you already belong to life itself. You are already held by the very force that breathed you into existence. Call that force God, call it the eternal, call it the pulse of the cosmos moving through your veins. The name does not matter. What matters is that when you learn to draw your worth from that deep well, not from another person's affection, your giving becomes light, effortless, unbound. And in that freedom, you finally discover what love was meant to be all along. Call it the unnamed mystery, the silent source, the hidden pulse of existence. Whatever its title, it loved you into being long before you could prove anything, earn anything, or become anything. Look at the sun. After all these millennia, it still has never turned to the earth and said, "You are indebted to me." And yet, a love so freely given illuminates the entire sky. To understand this is to become unshakable, untouched by whether others draw near or drift away. Only then can your love shine like sunlight, not offered for praise, not given in exchange, but flowing simply because that is what you are made of. Love, when it rises from within, is your sovereign freedom. No one can grant it and no one can take it. It is the expression of your own being, the overflow of life moving through you. You may give it to one person, to 10, or to the world itself, but its source is always within you. Being loved, however, that is another matter entirely. You cannot demand it, cannot bargain for it, cannot think your way into deserving it. Love that comes toward you is always a gift of its own timing, arriving when it chooses, leaving when it must. It is like a breeze touching your cheek. You may welcome it openly, but you cannot imprison the wind in your hands. So if love is offered to you, receive it with gratitude. Drink deeply while it flows, but do not grasp at it as though it were your last chance at warmth. For the instant you clutch, the instant you attempt to control, love ceases to be love and becomes something smaller, obligation, guilt, or emotional debt. And always remember this: you are already held in a love far older and deeper than human affection, the love of the source that called you into existence with no conditions and no demands. To recognize this is to know you are never truly empty. If you desire love from others, it must begin with the quiet courage to love yourself, not in the shallow sense of indulgence or vanity, but in the profound act of accepting your own being without judgment. A heart that is at ease with itself does not plead, it invites. And when two such hearts meet, their union is not a trade, but a confluence of rivers, each flowing from its own full spring. When two people who have learned inner peace come together, they do not seek to be filled. Their cups already overflow. They do not approach each other as beggars with empty bowls, but as givers carrying abundance. In such a relationship, there is no bargaining, no tally marks of who has given more, no silent fear of being indebted or abandoned. Love is not a reward nor a tool of control. It moves with the ease of the tides, rising and falling without instruction. The beauty lies not in taking, but in sharing. There is no hunger in the gaze, only radiance. One gives not because the other demands it, but because generosity has become the most natural expression of their being. And so both hearts are fed, not by draining one to sustain the other, but by the overflow of each. This alone is the love that does not decay into resentment. For where nothing is empty, nothing must be hoarded. And where nothing is hoarded, nothing is feared. When two complete beings meet, they grant each other the freedom to grow, to wander, to transform, and to return without chains, without conditions, without the grasping that turns affection into captivity. This is love that liberates, love that sustains, love that endures because it does not cling, the only kind of love worthy of the word. And yet such a meeting of two full hearts is rare. Most people wander through life looking for someone to complete them, unaware that they were never half-formed to begin with. Only when you drink deeply from your own inner well will you naturally meet another who drinks from theirs. And together you will not merely endure life, you will overflow into it. The world you encounter each day is not separate from you. It reflects you back in countless forms. You cannot draw water from an empty well, and you cannot find in others what you have not yet discovered within yourself. If you carry a hollow space inside, you will attract those who sense it, not because the universe is cruel, but because emptiness invites filling. People deprived of their own fullness will seek from you what you have not given to yourself, and in their longing, you may mistake their need for love. But if you move through life filled from within, grounded, whole, at peace, you will naturally meet others who live from their own abundance. Such people will not cling or drain or beg, for they are not surviving on scraps. Instead, you will feel ease in their presence. a quiet recognition, as though you have known them long before your first meeting. This is not magic, nor mystical lore. It is the simple truth of human connection. The depth to which you have met yourself determines the depth to which you can meet another. Most conflicts in relationships are not between two individuals, but between two sets of unexamined fears, wounds, and shadows that neither person has faced. So before searching for tenderness or devotion in another's eyes, turn inward and meet the one person you have spent the most time avoiding: yourself. Not to judge, not to scold, not to tally imperfections, but to finally acknowledge the quiet stranger you have carried all your life. For it is this unseen self who extends the invitation to others, this hidden presence that decides whether the love you find will nourish your soul or unravel it. And when this understanding roots itself in you, do not keep it to yourself. Place it gently into the hands of your children. They too are stepping into a world full of illusions, the same illusions that once captured you. Teach them that love is not the trembling sweetness of songs, nor the solemn contracts signed before altar or law. Love is the willingness to give without fear, to care without bargaining, to open the heart without the terror of losing what was never yours to control. If they do not learn this, they will build their homes upon sand and watch them fall. But if they do, their foundations will be stone, and love will not be a cage, but an open sky. The real question is not, where can I find someone to love me? The real question is, how can I become someone who overflows? For when love is no longer a plea but a gift, when joy is no longer chained to another's approval, you begin to see the truth. To love and to be loved is not something to chase. It is something you already are. You are not a half awaiting completion. You are whole. And from that wholeness, love flows effortlessly, recognizing its own kind wherever it goes. Then love stops being a hunt, a bargain, or a desperate grasp. It becomes like sunlight, steady, quiet, needing nothing in return, yet warming everything it touches.